we've been developed to plan success, but we've never been developed to plan our joy. And then we wonder why that's the only thing that we ever make space for. And so I had to start getting really intentional about how I plan my joy, just as much as I plan my success.
Hey there, and welcome to Work is Third, the podcast that is all about indulging in rest, setting boundaries, finding joy, and putting yourself first. I'm Dawn Hunter, your host, and I'm so excited you're here. Today, we're diving into what it really means to live in alignment with the brilliant Rashidat Odeyemi, lifestyle coach and your dream strategist. We talk about the soft life, preventing burnout, and why joy deserves a place on your calendar right next to success. From roller coasters to rest, we explore all the things that fulfill us. If you want to skip around, I've added section markers in addition to the chapter markers, but you're going to want to stick around for the whole thing. Let's dive in. Hello, Rashidat, and welcome to Work is Third.
Yes, thank you for having me. Hey.
I'm so glad to see you. We've had several conversations, so I'm glad you're actually live here recording right now.
Yay!
I'm really excited for listeners to get to know you. You are your dream strategist.
Mm-hmm.
What I love is that you have an assessment to understand, are you burned out, and how your work can help women to get to a point where they are living their soft life.
Yes, exactly.
And I'm really excited to dive into that. But before we do, I would appreciate if you could share a word just to describe how you're doing today.
You know what? The first word that came to mind is like my face is hurting from smiling right now because I'm a nerd. I totally love to have conversations about this kind of stuff. So maybe nerd is my word or smiley is my word. We got a couple to pick from in there.
Okay. Both of those, you can have more than one word for sure. Nerdy and smiley both work.
Yeah, I love it. They're both me.
Also, that's me on most days.
See, birds of a feather. I love it.
Yes. So how have you been since we last connected? How have you been doing?
Good. I've been on an adventure as always. So we were in California when we met. I'm now on the East Coast. I've been to New Mexico, to Atlanta, to Charlotte, a couple places in between. So I am enjoying the things that I do and the people that I get to enjoy life with. So yeah, can't complain.
That's really beautiful. And also, we need to back up to New Mexico, which is my home. Where were you at?
Really?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I stopped in Santa Fe. No, it was a little town outside of Albuquerque. Let me stop lying. There we go. Because I looked at a couple different places. It was a little town outside of Albuquerque, and it was like a really rural house. I did a house sit there. I think we talked about house sitting, and it was great. They had a rooftop patio. Honestly, all I did was like hang out with the dog and eat and like get a little bit of work done and sleep. It was awesome.
That sounds awesome. Did you get out and explore, or you were just resting?
I was really just resting.
I really appreciate that you shared that, because I was in New York City last week. I was in Brooklyn, and I've been to New York City many times. I went to school in New Jersey, so I'm familiar with it. And I was there and I was like, I don't need to see any part of this city while I'm here. When I am done for the day, I'm going back to my hotel room. I'm getting in bed and I'm reading my book.
Yes, that sounds glorious. No FOMO over here. Yes,
No.
I'm into it.
That's really hard for me. I don't know about you though, because I'm the person that is not, I don't vacation. I travel, right? Like I'm on an adventure. I go see whatever there is to see. I walk 25,000 steps. I say hello to all the people, but I'm starting to be like, maybe I just do one thing, and maybe I just see the one person it's easiest to see, or, like just do a little bit less.
Yeah. Yeah. I lean more towards the slow travel. Like, I was in Atlanta about 2 weeks ago and I did not slow travel. I had 5 different family members to see. I was so rested when I left LA and New Mexico. By the time I left Atlanta, I was woe out. Okay. So it does depend on the place, but there's such beauty to taking the time to slow travel and we forget we can always go back. We feel like we'll never get a chance to go back, you know?
We do, and so we wanna do all the things and see all the things. But
Yeah,
what if we went into it with that mindset that we're gonna be there again?
right.
Yeah,
How how much more rest can we get if we go into it with that mindset, you know? Because then you're like, "Oh, I'm just doing life in another place." And right now, my body is asking me to hang out with my kids, to play a board game, to sit on this patio and drink my tea while the sun rises. To, yeah, I'll go try this amazing restaurant, or yeah, I'll go see this site that I was told about. But man, I can also just, like, chill, which is kinda nice too, right?
you can do none of your plans. It's just like, "Nope, I'm good."
Yeah, right, right. Which is what I love to talk about because I feel like we don't give ourselves permission to do that. We really do go into a place and we think, "I have to do it all. I have to get all the work done. I have to do all the things. I have to see all the places." Like, there's not much space for us to take a deep breath, and then we wonder why we burnt out. And I'm like,
Right.
"Oh, let's take a look at that."
Yeah, well, let's talk about that more because I have experienced burnout myself. I believe you have as well.
Mhm. I have.
Uh, Left corporate, correct? Yeah.
Mhm.
And so having had that experience, recognizing the signs and thinking about what could I have done to prevent this in the first place? And not just try
Yeah.
to handle it while I was in it, but is there a way to kind of burnout proof your life?
I think there's one thing I wanna start with. I experienced burnout first in corporate and then also as an entrepreneur. So, it's not just about being in corporate because you could burn out on your dreams because you don't know how to sit down and there's nobody telling you to actually go home. Like, there's less accountability. There's really only you. So, regardless of whether it's, corporate America or whether it's your business, like, it all of this starts within us, and I have found that the way to really create that balance is to understand what are the different things that make you come alive. If you're in corporate, maybe there's part of it that makes you come alive and maybe there's not. But if you don't have enough life outside of that corporate job, and if you're always trying to escape your corporate job or your business for that matter, then you end up in this cycle of never feeling like you can ever get a rest. You're just running from a lot of pain. And so I found that the way that I could burnout proof my life is taking a step back and really asking myself, what is it that's going to make me feel fulfilled? And how can I do that every single day? And that answer is going to be you could probably find some high level themes, but it's generally going to look a little different for every single person. And so I that's one of the things that I walk my clients through is learning how to answer that question.
So when you work with your clients, does it come up where they say, I cannot be fulfilled every day and I understand that's just part of life?
I think that sometimes I have had a couple people, they haven't said it in those words, but now that you say that, I have had a couple people be like, no, there's no way this is possible, which is funny because I'm like, how did you end up with me if you don't believe that that's possible? So it's like this, I don't believe it's possible, but I'm hoping that you can help me find it. And what ends up happening is that they might come in feeling like this ain't reasonably possible with the whole ain't in there. And then they come back and they realize, oh, the reason it really wasn't possible was because I couldn't even open my mind to believe that it could be possible. Mindset is such a big part of it before you even start doing anything.
I would love to explore this with you because we were both participants in ROI, the Hello 7 Summit, Rachel Rogers' company, and mindset is a huge part of the messaging there, right? That
Mhm.
you have to be in the
Mhm.
mindset that you can be a millionaire, that you can be
Yeah.
successful. But I think it's hard to get to that point where you believe, right? Like where you really believe it. And so how do you know? And this is just a question I think about a lot. Like how do you get to the point where you realize your mindset has actually flipped?
Yeah. I think it's a matter of starting small. My mindset didn't change overnight. It's not one of those things where we could walk up to a light switch and we just flick. mindset on, mindset off. It's not it's not that simple. God, I wish it was, and yet it's absolutely not. And so, it's a matter of believing that there are baby steps that are bringing us closer to it. And here's the thing, I say baby steps, and we think of baby steps, and we're like, "Oh, it's a baby step. That should be an easy step for me to take." Listen, baby steps are hard for babies, okay? This is actually a big step that's snowballing into a greater change within us that snowballs into that mindset change that we want. So it's going to happen over time. And so for me, it looked like the first question was, okay, wait, if I wasn't doing this, what would I do? That was my question with corporate America. Then it was, I'm not really sure, but I need space to explore. But I have this debt over my head. How can I get out of the debt? Oh, now I'm out of debt. What do I want to, how do I want to explore? I ended up choosing to do a year-long mission trip. Now I would go back and choose a sabbatical and join some of the amazing communities of Black women that are expatting to different countries. But then I start opening up myself to explore. Or another way that I would do it would be to work with somebody to ask me questions that, a lot of us don't have anybody asking us what we want from life. Probably the last time we had someone ask us that, it was like, "What do you wanna be when you grow up?" And it was more about, "What is your career path?" It wasn't about our joy. There was a really great reel from that was clipped from a conversation from Michelle Obama, and she talks about how we've been developed to plan success, but we've never been developed to plan our joy. And then we wonder why that's the only thing that we ever make space for. And so I had to start getting really intentional about how I plan my joy just as much as I plan my success. Yes, I'm really honored that I was able to leave my corporate job and start a business. And I don't even think that everybody needs to do that to create this freedom. And yet, if you don't start asking these questions about what does it look like to live a life of joy, you're never going to figure it out because you're not bringing it out of the 40,000-foot view down to what do I do in small bites every single day that can snowball into that.
You said one thing that I think is kind of step one for everyone is recognizing how conditioned we are to achieve,
Mm,
to pursue
mhm.
success. Because you're right. Nobody as adults has ever asked me, what do you want to be in 10 years? I mean, people ask that during interview questions, which I always hate because it's like I'm just trying to be employed, right?
This is not the time or the place.
Right. Yeah. How does this fit in? Yeah.
Right.
But what if we did that? What if we were more intentional in saying, we're not grown up yet. We are always growing up. So what do you want to be when you grow up?
Yeah. Yeah.
Joyful.
And that is right, and that answer can change. That answer can change. If you're in a really burnt out state, your answer might be, "I wanna be a beach bum that does dog walking until I could get my until I could get my wherewithal about me, and I actually want to do more." Or you could be that person that's like, "You know what? I'm not quite being challenged enough. I want a little more." And that challenge might be more around people instead of a career, like trying to climb a corporate ladder that is not really a ladder. Like there's nothing that we're climbing to. All we're doing is climbing towards somebody else's dreams, which I'm completely opposed to that. So if we take those other things of like climbing the corporate ladder out, then we have to be more creative. But that can also be completely terrifying because it's like, oh my gosh, how do I not know this answer? And that's how it was for me. Like when I first started this and I started saying, well, if I don't want to do this, what do I want to do? It was the most terrifying thing to realize I didn't have an answer because everybody thought that I was the adventurous one, and which I technically was, and yet I was like, it's gotta be more than that. I was 31 at that point. How could I have accomplished everything already? That didn't make sense to me. I knew there had to be more. And so I had to get past my fear to start dreaming again and what I call rehydrate my dreaming gland because I felt like it had dried up and start
Mhm.
allowing the to flow again.
I did something real similar. So I'm glad to hear you share that experience of it. When I quit my job in 2023, it was actually a process before I quit, right? It was 6 months of, maybe this is not where I need to be anymore. But then
Mhm.
really, once I did quit, being really intentional about saying, "What do I wanna do?" And I did not have an answer. My answer was really, I wanna not struggle while I'm trying to figure out what to do next. I knew I wanted
Mhm.
to work for myself, and I knew I wanted to create this thing, but it was still very nebulous, and so some of it was just like, I want to have the freedom to be my best self and not be burdened by other people's expectations,
Yeah.
and that was where I started.
Yeah. And that's a beautiful place to start, which is the other thing that I do with my clients. Like when I start asking you this question, you don't have to know the end goal. I actually like to break it down to like 10 years. And even within that 10 years, every year we're going to update it. It's just the 10 years, like just it's like getting the first brain dump out of your head, like you have. And then you're like, "Oh, but now I've learned a little bit more about me, and I don't actually want that anymore." That's what I thought I wanted, or it was a perception of what I thought that was gonna be, but now that I've seen it in reality, I don't actually want that. And you're allowed to let this evolve. Like, this could dreaming should be fun. Like, building a life should be fun, but work has made it feel like, ugh, like it's
Yeah.
this drudgy thing that we have to do, but this actually gets to be the best. Our life gets to be an adventure. It gets to be the thing that we love.
Our life does get to be an adventure, and one of the books that I read, did we talk about The Artist's Way?
I don't think we did, but I have read that as way as well.
Okay. So then you might recall this part, where one of the exercises that you are encouraged to do is to think about all the things you would love to do and professions associated with them. So painter, artist, dancer, chef, whatever it is. And then you continuously add to that list. And then you're also
Mhm,
encouraged to pick one of those and then go do something related to that. So
mhm,
say like in your dream alternative life, you are, you're a Michelin star chef. Well, maybe you go have a meal at a Michelin star restaurant, or maybe
mhm.
you prepare a meal for your friends, or, something that helps you get closer to that dream. Like maybe it's not going to be your life, but how can you incorporate part of it into your life still? Which I
Right.
loved that exercise.
Yeah. And it is a great exercise because we kind of think that we could think our way to our dreams, but it's trial and error. Like, that's part of the adventure. Is trying something and learning something new about yourself and recognizing, oh, I really like the idea of putting the recipe together, but I don't want to do all the chopping. And now you can actually break it down to find the different parts that you do love. And you can continue to use those parts and take out the things that you don't want. Like, you actually get to do this maneuvering to create something beautiful. And we are in a world with the internet and all of the things that we have available. There is no reason why you can't create something that's exactly this beautiful depiction of you, unless you haven't taken the time to do the trial and error to really figure out who you are and what you want.
Right. And I think accepting this idea that you can be something completely different than what you have ever been to this point in your existence. One of my
Yeah.
favorite stories is, well, now I say it's a story. I'm like, was it an actual story like on a TV show, or was this somebody's real story? I'm not sure. But it was like a woman who in her 80s or 70s or so decided to become an expert on a certain kind of art and just did
Mm.
everything she could to learn about this art. And then over a course of like a decade, she became an established expert. And people would go to her and she would give talks. She is 70, in her 70s, approaching 80, and wasn't something that she ever did at any other point in her life, and just said, "At this point in my life, this is what I wanna do, and that's what I'm gonna do."
Yeah. Right. I mean, some of the people, the greatest names that we know, didn't really get their start until their 40s and 50s, and they're just getting started. Because honestly, that's when I feel like it's our 40s, mid 40s, where we finally stop caring so much about what other people think, and we're willing to go out there and look a little crazy to actually get what we want. And if you're approaching that, get excited. You can start now. This is a beautiful time, because then we learn that corporate ladder BS, we start to realize that BS ain't worth it. And we're willing to not sacrifice security, but we're willing to risk what feels like security because we recognize that that wasn't actually security in the first place. That was a trap, and a trap is not security. That's bondage. That's different.
I was just talking to another guest about this because I also think that when we hit our 40s and people are heading into their 50s, I think we're finally realizing that that conditioning and we're living this life. And then I think we start to wake up and say, wait a minute, what? How did I end up doing this? Like, how is this my
Right.
life? Yeah. Like we recover some agency over our own path that we're just
Mhm.
following. I think a lot of us we go to college or we go to technical school or we get into a trade, we do that thing and we just keep doing it because it's expected and because it's easy and because it pays the bills and it allows us to raise a family or these other goals that we might have. And we never question why we're on that path
Mhm.
until one day we're just continuously feeling probably dissatisfied, I would say. And then
Mhm.
we say, hey, where is this feeling coming from?
And sometimes then we choose to do something extreme or we're like, burn it all down. And I'm like, you can do that. I did that. And like, there's also a beautiful way to explore without necessarily making your life hard that way. I will tell you that that can make your life hard. But being the open hearted person to be willing to explore that there's something else out there is really where it all starts. And like you said, that's like the second step. First is like recognize that we are conditioned. Then step number two is like, okay, if I'm not following that conditioning, how do I want to create my own path? And starting to carve that out.
So, with your clients or like in the work that you've done so far, how long does it take some people? I mean, I imagine some people might not ever get there, but what is that process like for people?
I think for one, I will say the people that I have found don't get there are the people that want a magic pill. And they just are like, oh, I I thought I would figure this out in 6 weeks. Like, even though I tell them expect like 9 months at least. Give yourself some you're birthing a new part of you. Imagine you're birthing a baby. Like, give yourself some time because I also bake in time for this trial and error for you to start trying things and you get into this space of questioning and you need support while you're doing that to get you back off the ledge and say no, you're actually doing the right thing. Just because not everything is falling into place doesn't mean that it's failing. It means that you're growing, and sometimes growth has growing pains, so you need somebody during that process. So the people who don't really get to that are the people that are like, oh, I just wanted this to be like a one and done thing. Well, I'm sorry. It took you 20, 30, 40 years to get to where you are. You're not going to reprogram yourself in a couple weeks. It's just not going to happen. So that's one experience. I think anybody else that I have had work with me, I've had people that work with me for 10 to 12 months and then they're like, I don't actually want to stop working with you. But my one client was like, but my wife is like, you already did the program. Why do you need to stay longer? And he couldn't express how much it was helping him the way that it was, but we still keep in touch. And then I've also had other clients. I have one client that she calls our sessions now her self-care, and it has probably been, I want to say 3 to 4 years, but all of those people have gotten there and it's more about the conversation and the safe space that I create. That is, I always have this, not intentionally, it's just the way that I was created. I'm not a contrarian person, but I always have a different perspective about things. And so being able to come with their own perspective and for me to give them another perspective, which allows them to then go even deeper in what they want from themselves, because it's not my goal to make you do things my way. My goal is to help you find a deeper understanding of why you're doing it that way, and if that's really the way you want to do it or if you want to do something different. And so that is the kind of conversation that I bring to them and the value that helps them say, while I thought I knew myself, I am knowing more about me than I even knew was possible. And that's a beautiful thing because when we're getting out of burnout, I don't believe getting out of burnout is just rest. I think it's a part of the equation, but it's not just sleeping more. It's creating a life of alignment. And if your life is not in alignment, it doesn't matter whether you're not working at all or whether you're working 80 million hours a week. You're going to feel off. You're going to feel like this isn't working. And so we have to figure out what it is that's going to bring your life into alignment, because that's what's going to get you out of burnout and keep you out of burnout.
When I was coming out of burnout, some of it was rest, but really a big piece of it was me doing a lot of being curious about myself to say, what do I believe and what do I practice that allowed me to get to this point? And then I want to change that. And then, like you say, make sure I'm living in alignment. So if I say that I value rest, or I say that I value being recognized at work, or I value autonomy in my projects and I'm not getting it, that I can just be real intentional about saying, like, this is misaligned with me. And if I continue to stay in this situation, I'm going to end up burned out again.
Right. Right. And then you
Yeah.
can make a educated decision. It's not like I just have to burn everything down because I'm unhappy here. And I'm not saying that you won't burn something down, but you might burn it. I would rather you burn it down intentionally rather than because because you felt like you didn't have any other choice, because then you might come back and be like, I actually wanted some of that. You know what I mean? So
hmm
yeah, it was a mistake that I made. Like a lot of the things that I learned and a lot of things that I teach are because I messed it up. I fucked it up the first time the wrong way. But now I can help people not do that, and not continue for myself to not make those mistakes.
Yeah, I think that's really important because having experienced that, and as you say, like having fucked things up for myself, I can then share that with other people and say, here's what you don't need to do. But also, it's like I have this background, I have an education and training in this space. So
Mhm.
recognizing that we are constantly growing and constantly learning, and some of us are maybe further ahead on that path than others, but can we help those other folks who are struggling? And that's one of the things that you do, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
one of my favorite things to do. And then my other favorite thing is really being encouragement, especially for women and women of color, because we are the last to be encouraged and the first to be criticized. And so I love to make space where I celebrate you. And it's funny, I'll be in a call with a client and they'll be like, well, I did XYZ today. And I'm like, wait a minute. You skimmed over that. I think haven't paused to recognize how much of a win that is. And it's one of those things that when you start celebrating yourself, it's like a different side of the coin to gratitude. It's one thing to be grateful for all of the things around you, but also celebrate the things within you that you've done, that you've grown, that you've processed. And then you're like, oh, I've done a lot. Maybe I could stop bullying myself to do more, like it actually starts to change. That's another part of, for me, when I'm helping my clients shift out of burnout, it's like actually make a practice of celebrating yourself, because I guarantee you've done umpteen million times more things than you have actually given yourself credit for.
100%. Celebration has been a big theme in my life, and I think of it like you're describing it. And how do we celebrate everything that is worth celebrating? And that's
Hmm.
not just birthdays and anniversaries and huge milestones. It's also
Right.
the little things that we do to live the life that we want to live and
Hmm.
making those steps. We should be
Yeah.
celebrating those.
Every single bit of it. Listen, if you took a nap today and you don't usually give yourself the space to take a nap, you need to celebrate that. If you took some time to go and get coffee when you would never allow yourself to do that, listen, I'm about celebrating every single bit of it. Even when an opportunity misses me, sometimes I'm like, "Ooh, you know what, Jesus? I don't know why you had that miss me, but Imma celebrate it, because I know if it was mine, you woulda gave it to me, and if it wasn't, I'm glad it's not here. Thank you, Lord. I don't know what you protected me from, but I received that." Celebrate it. It's just a different perspective, a different posture to how we go through things.
So I was getting ready to ask you, what is something that you're celebrating from this week or this past week or so?
Yes. You know what? There's a couple things I'm celebrating. I'm celebrating that I am actually creating a new space in what I would usually do is Freedom Fridays, and I'm evolving how I'm doing it. And so it's been It's been fun to change it and make it more of a open conversation community, and it's been just as much joy for me as it is having people come and be a part of it, and I think that's the other thing. I mean, I could celebrate a lot of things. I can celebrate the fact that I get to share something that I absolutely love. I remember when I first started being a coach, I would get off every session, and it's actually making me a little emotional right now, and I would cry. Oh my God, this is what I was meant to do in my life. Like, I didn't
Ah.
feel like that when I was in fashion. I was in fashion, and everybody would think, oh, that's a cool career. Like, how could you ever want to leave? Because it did not bring this out of me in any way, shape, or form. I celebrate it every single day. And don't get me wrong, being a business owner is hard, but I'm celebrating that too. Gosh, there's so many things I could celebrate. We could do this for a couple hours.
I love that. Just like, let's just celebrate all the things.
All the things.
What I've really found beautiful about what you said is when you realize that you are doing something that is meant for you, like, and it feels so aligned. I really love doing this podcast, and I tell people that all the time. And I ran into someone last night who said, and it was somebody it was very surprising to hear this from. And he was like, I've been listening to your podcast and I love it so much. I listen to it all the time. And I was just like, what? Oh my goodness. This is why, like reaching even one person and having them say, this resonated with me. I just feel so, like you said, with that feeling of just like, this is what I'm meant to be doing,
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. It is an absolute blessing. And I think that's the beauty of alignment. Yes, it takes some learning of ourselves to figure that out. But then when you're like, oh, this feels different. How do I do more of this? Like you start getting deep inside of yourself. What about this feels different from the other things I've experienced? How can I bring that into literally? I really believe you could bring it into everything that you do, but it does take some practice and some excavation, some curiosity, however you want to call, to get to that point to figure it out. It's beautiful.
And then just as a reminder, like what you said earlier, it can change. So just be ready to
Hmm.
constantly be curious, right? And
Hmm.
enjoy what you have right now, feel the alignment. And then when you feel it start to shift, explore again.
Hmm. Yeah. I like to call it a roller coaster. And you could get on that roller coaster and you can hold on tight and you can white knuckle it and be like, oh, I don't know what's coming. I'm trying to buckle down and trying to hold myself together. Or you could get on that roller coaster and throw your hands up in the air and say, wee, like it's such a different experience, and I think that that's the part that makes this fun. There are some days where I get my hands down there and then I'm like, "Wait, throw it back up, throw it back up." So, there's also that too, but, like, I try to keep my heart posture at that, throwing my hands up in the air and saying "we" about it.
Okay. Throw your, I love that so much. Throw your hands up in the air and say we.
Yes.
Woo! Okay. I also actually really love roller coasters.
Me
I'm
too.
obsessed with roller coaster theme parks. Like it's just my favorite.
Mhm.
It's one of my favorite things to do. But I think a lot about that, the freedom I feel when I'm at the top of a coaster or about to go over a big drop and just not thinking about anything and just feeling that experience, that exhilaration, not controlling it, holding on, gripping for dear life does not in any way change the track, right? So why not just enjoy it?
Exactly. Exactly. Yes, that's exactly it.
So wait, are you a roller coaster fan or is this just an analogy that you like?
Oh, no, I love roller coasters since I was a kid, and it's always amazing to me when I meet someone that's not, because 'cause I'm like, "You're an absolute alien," and, they're not. It's just I'm just not used to it because my parents did this. My mother was putting us on roller coasters as soon as we could walk, so, yeah, I love roller coasters, theme parks. Now, I will say after COVID, not being able to have done it for a while, it did throw me off a little bit. Maybe the perimenopause kicked in, and but I still love them for sure.
So that's actually a really interesting point. I definitely feel different on a coaster than the first time I noticed it. I thought something was seriously wrong with me. And then I was like, oh no, it turns out just that's just getting older. Like
Exactly.
But I am curious, like, what is one of your favorite coasters or theme parks?
Oh my gosh. Okay. The one that's gonna immediately come to mind is, have you ever got on Hagrid's
Motorbike
ride at—
adventure?
Yes, yes, at Harry Potter World? I was like, "This is the best." Like, I enjoyed every single bit of that thing.
The first time I rode that ride, the picture that they captured afterward was just, like, pure unadulterated joy on my face.
Yes!
I was like, "This is the most amazing ride I've ever experienced in my life."
Exactly. Exactly. Same, same, same.
I
I
in
mean, I
fact,
don't even know that I know the names of any other rides, like, that's how great that one was.
that one's amazing. I have a framed picture of that. Actually, I have a digital frame. We pay for the photo pass, and
Oh.
I have all of our every ride, even if the photos are terrible or silly or whatever, they are on our digital frame.
I'm gonna have to do that. I love that idea. I'm gonna have to do that. That's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's fun to display it because it just I'll just be walking by the living room or whatever, and I see it, and it always is a good memory. There's never a time I go to a theme park and I'm like, this wasn't fun. It's always
Right.
fun. Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, now this is my question now. My favorite amusement park, it's been a long time since I've been, but have you ever been to Cedar Point?
Oh, this is so funny. I went for the first time last summer.
Did you
Had
really?
never been before, and here's what happened. My mom's family is all from Cleveland area, and they have a family reunion every year, like, near Akron, and I flew into Cleveland, and I was like, "Hmm, Cedar Point's not that far away." So my husband flew up separately from me, and when he got into the airport, I was like, "Would you be willing to go to Cedar Point?" And he's like, "Sure." So we drove over. Oh my goodness, that park is incredible. The
Yeah.
rides are amazing.
Yeah.
And what I found was an interesting coincidence is that I live by Busch Gardens, Tampa, and I've also been to the one in Williamsburg.
Okay.
Some of the ride designs are the same, like the ride engineers, whatever they're called. You can tell the similarities in some of the rides at Cedar Point and some of the rides at Busch Gardens, but that park is incredible.
Yeah. I'm glad you've been, because that's the if I don't have a ride, that is the main park that's actually like roller coasters and things, not amusement, but theme parks that you actually like enjoy. Yeah. It's a great park. I'm glad you asked that question.
I love that. Yeah, and my goal is to hit up if I can, whatever theme parks I can. Like that's what I enjoy doing. As long as I can
Yeah.
ride. I had my mom who is 70 years old. I had her go with us on Iron Gwazi at Busch Gardens. And let me just tell you, this is a hybrid coaster that is super fast and it's very wild. And the picture of my mom looking terrified. I was actually worried. I was like, oh my God, please don't have a heart attack or a stroke on this ride. I tried to warn
Please.
you that this was terrible.
That is absolutely amazing. Mama was like, "Listen, I ain't old yet."
Yeah, yeah.
I love it. That's beautiful.
But you remind me, I really am fortunate that I live very close to an amusement park that is really nice, which is Busch Gardens, Tampa Bay. During COVID, I remember when they reopened, so we always get annual passes, and
Mhm.
we went when they started reopening to the public, and it was so eerie. So we're in the park. I think they limited the number of admissions. Everyone was wearing masks. There was only two like food vending places open. Everything else was closed. And they were cleaning the rides in between rides, like in between runs.
Wow.
And it was surreal because you were able to go on all these rides and like no lines, right? Nobody's there. Everybody's worried about, we were still worried. I think this was before the vaccine came out. In fact, it was really nice to actually still be there and say, like, there's still this opportunity to go and experience this joy, even if it's weird or changed in some way, that it still can be this place. So it's like, I didn't lose that experience over COVID. Like, we were able to still go and just get that, even though it was different at the time.
Mhm. Yeah, I think mine was we went to, like, an evening they do Disney where you can go in the evenings in November, and I think it was 2021, so the park wasn't, like, crazy full, but it was full enough, and it was at night too, so that's a whole different vibe. But there's just something beautiful again, and I think the same thing that you said, like, this can be weird, this can be an eerie experience. If we have that same openness about life, like, what can we accomplish? Like, or what can we experience? It's not I hate saying the word accomplish because it's not about accomplishment. It's about just living. Like, what can we experience in life? And some of us would be like, "Oh, like, I get it. It was COVID, but I probably experienced more amazing things during COVID than some of the other times, just accessibility." I mean, I went to Alaska. I saw a moose, yeah, a moose. There was more than one, but I don't know how to say it when it's plural. Pee, like, right in front of me, and I was like, "Oh, okay, that's what we're doing." I mean, just the fact that I got to go to the North Pole. I spent a year in Costa Rica that year. Like, where again, so often we get bogged down with, I have to go to work. I gotta make money. I gotta do all the things that we forget to just make some time to do something that kind of feels irresponsible. And guess what? You're not gonna die.
Nope, the world is not going to end.
You
You're going to be
know?
fine.
Yeah.
Go do the irresponsible, joyful, free thing.
Yeah. For sure. For sure.
Yeah, I think that's a great question to ask yourself, right? Like, what would I do if there were no restrictions? What would I do if there was no judgment?
Mhm.
What would my life look like?
Yeah.
Not even 5
If
years
I
from now,
wasn't
but like tomorrow.
right. Right. And make a list. Write it down so that you don't forget. Because unfortunately, the exterior things, your mom calling or the bills calling or this, that, and the other, all of these things are going to put you back into that box of being responsible. But then you can at least have your list to say, "Oh, wait, I could at least do one of these things and explore something else." Like, I love how your title is Work is Third because your list should be that first. Your list, not somebody else's list. Your list should be that first, and then the work will come after. Because guess what? That ain't going nowhere. It's not going anywhere. It's still gonna be here when you come back. So go live. Go live
Go live.
fully.
And frankly, you'll be a better employee and human being if you are putting those other things first.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. A better mom, a better entrepreneur, a better sister, a better daughter, a better all of the things. Literally all the things that you're scared that are going to fall apart because you put yourself first. You're actually going to be better at taking care of those things because you put yourself first. Like that's what comes to mind when I hear what you just said.
Yeah.
Yes.
Snaps for that.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you brought COVID up because one of the things I lament the most about the COVID time period is I felt like we really had an opportunity to innovate. And we did see innovation
Mm.
early in COVID. We're like, we have to adapt and we have to adapt quickly to make sure people don't die.
Mm.
But we treated it as temporary. We didn't say, maybe this is
Yeah.
a new way to work and live. We said, we're
Yeah.
just doing this until we can get back to normal, quote unquote.
Mhm.
Um, and I really sometimes am sad by that to think like, what a missed
Yeah.
opportunity to really reimagine a way to live that all of us can be healthier and safe and feel like we're in community together.
Right.
And on in my take on it right now is like, that's just not where we're at, right?
Yeah. It's crazy too because I started this business right before COVID, not knowing that it was going to coincide with COVID. And that was the life question that I was exploring, which is why I continue my business because I was like, "Oh, there is a whole bunch of people who want to talk about this." And COVID was like enough to inspire us to say, "Oh, maybe it is a conversation that we could have." But I like you said, a lot of us have gone back to, while it could have been a conversation, it's not anymore, and I don't think that's true. We just have to keep pushing for it. We have to keep opening ourselves that there is another way and exploring what that could be.
I honestly feel like in some ways businesses are avoiding the inevitable because all of us were
Mm.
changed by COVID. All of us
Oh,
were,
yeah.
our eyes were opened by working from home and not working maybe even early in COVID. And by having an opportunity to spend time with our kids and our parents, and like you said, you tried new things. Like I did these art kits I would bring home and like sit at my dining room table and paint. And just like having those things and picking up hobbies. Everybody did sourdough, right? That collective experience of freedom and a different way of living does not go away. That undercurrent is still there, and I think it is important for us to continue this conversation so that we can create workplaces that recognize the way that we live has shifted, and we need to create spaces for people to be humans first, to live joyfully, to take care of themselves, and that the business success will follow.
Yeah. Agreed. Because we're all happier that way.
So this has been so fun. I love talking to you every time we talk. I just love your energy so much. But as we come to a close, I'm curious if you have a takeaway or something that you would want to share with listeners.
Well, first, I'll say I love talking to you too. You'll have to come on mine as well. This will be a lot of fun.
Yes, so fun.
We'll continue
Yeah.
the conversation. I would say the biggest takeaway for this, I'm gonna call it an adventure of creating your soft life or your life. Some people have, qualms about that word. Whatever it is, but this journey to create a life of alignment that allows you to feel fulfilled, I'm gonna say at least 80% of the time, if not 100% of the time. Be gentle with yourself. You more than likely got bogged down in burnout because you were told XYZ had to happen at this time and you bulldozed your way there. Like you said, like just growled your whole way into it. And that stole something from you. That kind of grind stole something so beautiful. And that what it stole was this gentleness to allow yourself to bloom and evolve and to allow you to be truly watered. I love making this analogy of a plant because plants are so resilient and you gotta like give them all the things that they need to fully take root and grow or else they will die out, aka burnout. So yeah, be gentle with yourself. Allow yourself to receive all of those things in due time, not because you were like, I gotta hurry up and do it now. A plant doesn't hurry up and grow. Like you don't hurry up and grow. So yeah, be gentle with yourself on this adventure.
Be gentle, be curious, leave room for the magic.
Mhm. Yes, come on. Yes, I love it. All of it.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for being a guest on Work is Third. And I would love to continue this conversation with you on your show.
Yes, for sure. We will definitely do that.
All right. Well, good to see you, and I will see you again soon.
All right. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening to Work is Third. If this conversation with Rashidat Odeyemi inspired you to slow down, celebrate yourself, or reimagine success, be sure to follow the show for more insights and consider leaving a rating or review. For more stories and resources, visit workisthird.com and subscribe to my newsletter, The Joyful Rebellion. Until next time, remember, put yourself first.